Hi, my name's Steve with Aviator Home Loans. Today's very specific about VA loans and how to build wealth through VA loans. So a lot of what we're going to talk about is very specific to return on investment, what it means, and how it applies to VA loans. We get this question a lot of how much money should I put down? And you can kind of go with it a lot of different ways. So we'll kind of walk through return on investment, the VA funding fee. Then we're going to talk about a good rule of thumb that I use for gross income, to how much my housing payment should be, to how I should set up my finances if I'm an airline pilot. So the first thing is return on investment. It's very simple. So return on investment is the cost of an investment. Simple math. Let's take a stock. You're buying a part of a company through a stock. The stock costs $100. You pay $100. It goes to $150 next year. 50% rate, that's your return on your investment, okay? So think of the same thing when you put a down payment on a home. The home is the investment vehicle, the asset. So that's what we use for this calculation. 0% on a $500,000 house, that goes up 5% the next year. Year two, 0%, $525,000 equity in your house. Now I understand the assumption is we have closing costs, so forth. Got it. This is for the math of return on investment, the actual cost of the down payment. When you buy and sell a stock, yeah, you have associated trade fees. Same principle here. The cost of the investment was 0% down payment. So zero money in, you have $25,000 of equity to you. Now, we can't really get the equity out. When we sell, you're going to get the equity. So you're building wealth with 0% down. Now let's say you decide to do 10% down. Okay, so now the $500,000, and then we have $450,000 is your loan amount. So $50,000 is what you paid in. $525,000. Okay, $25,000 of equity. Why are we bringing this up? It's important to understand. So $50,000 is the cost of the investment, what you put in, and you have $25,000 now. So that's 50% return on your investment. Now, would you rather put in 50 and have 25 of equity, or put 0 and have 25 of equity? And you take the other 50, do other things with it. And I'll tell you what exactly to do with it here in a second. Okay, very basic, return on your investment. Your home's an investment, you're buying the asset. The cost of the investment is your return on investment. Okay, 0% on a VA. There are multiple ways you can have 0%, or your exemption, to where there's no funding fee, is what we're talking about. A 10% VA rated disability. You can be a Purple Heart recipient. There's a couple more there. Well, what we do, pro tip here, listen up. If you go to the VA portal and do your intent to file prior to closing, you have 1 year to file. This is the intent to file. 1 year, that starts the clock. 1 year clock. If within that 1 year, the VA comes back and states you have a 10% rating, your funding fee is reimbursed. Okay. Important and very important to understand that. That is a question you need to be asking if you're about to buy a home. Can I get my funding fee reimbursed? Very simple. We've helped plenty of veterans get the funding fee reimbursed. It's not tough. It's in the handbook. It's very simple to do. Okay, now let's say, you know what? We're not doing that. We have we have a funding fee. The funding fee goes your initial purchase or subsequent, and then it tiers 0%, 5%, and 10%. Now, to make the math simple, I'm just going to use a $10,000 funding fee. That is not the actual VA funding fee. We're doing this for the math purposes. Okay. Year one, it gets rolled into the loan. So it really goes into your cash flow, not out of your you're not taking your asset and putting money down. So it's going to get rolled into your loan. Okay? And we get this question a lot. Should I put money down, not down, funding fee, no funding fee? I'll use the next page to show you where I kind of go with clients. So 0% down, $10,000. So the cost of the investment out of your wallet is still 0%. And that's going to eat up your future equity. Still okay here because 0% down, okay? 0% down, 5%, 525. Now you have 15K of equity. 0 to 15, that's still a good ratio. Now this is very specific to the return on your investment is what we're talking about here. So that's just simple math. 0 in, now you have 15, funding fees rolled in. All right, you say, but I'm not done. I want to talk about how I'm an airline pilot. We do a lot with airline pilots. Why do we deal with airline pilots? Because I'm an airline pilot. I fly under the same collective bargaining agreements. I've flown for the Atlanta company and the Memphis company, currently with the Memphis company. And I even put a hat on the top of the head for the Atlanta guys, just so they don't feel left out. We have a hat for them so they can wear their hat. And I put Zoom in there for the Air Force guys. I'm Navy. I put Zoom in there for those guys. All right, you're an airline pilot. A lot of lines going all over the place here. Why? Because it matters. So, year one, I like to use a rule of thumb of 25% of your gross. So, remember 25% of your gross. That's what we're going to base your payment off of. But it's going to be off of year two pay. Okay? So 25% of year two pay if you're new or coming out. If you've already been if you're at year 5, 6, 7, you're a captain, 25% is the rule of thumb I use. Why? It's an easy number, and depending where you live, you have different tax structures, and so it's easy for a pilot on the fly to do 25%. I make $10,000 per month, 25% is $2,500. But then we say, no, we're going to base off year two pay. Let's say we're making $20,000 a month. That's 25% is $5,000, okay? Now, this is important to understand. This is why the VA with the airline pilots is so good. So I can take $5,000 a month in your year one pay. That's a 50% debt to income ratio. But wait, how do we qualify people? Well, conventional FHA, those loans go off of debt to income. VA goes off of a thing called residual income. So if you're conventional, you're pretty much capped at 50% debt to income ratio. And let's say, I already scratched it out, let's say you have a $1,000 two-car notes, 500 piece. That puts you at $6,000. Uh-oh, now we're at 60% debt to income ratio. Conventional, we're out. Well, if you're using a VA loan, this is what I do with my clients. Hey, our residual income still looks good. You're just going to be a little off on your 25% metrics for now. Okay, we got it. Feels good. So this is what I'm actually looking at is residual income. Debt to income does play a part when I run it through this AUS system, but for the purposes, residual is going to be your limiting factor if you're an airline pilot. And high income earners, residual income is your limiting factor. So year two pay, $20,000 a month, 25%, that's $5,000 per month. That's a very good ratio. That's going to get you right in the $700,000 to $800,000 range with the current rate of around 6%. Simple math. Okay, so this is what we're looking at. If you're a captain making, let's say you're on, 8 pay and you're making 30, K, you're going to be at, I would not want to see your payment over $7,500. General rule of thumb, California might be a little higher depending on what area you're in. So I don't say this as these are hard facts. This is just a rule of thumb. These were pilots, and it's simple to calculate on the fly. I made, $20,000 per month average last year, 5,000 is my sweet spot. Okay. This is what you need to listen to if you're a pilot. Your savings account is your best friend. This will reduce a lot of pain points, not only in your pocketbook, but it will reduce the stress in your household. Very specific reason why. So what I advise all clients, this is what I personally do. I have one account that pays my mortgage payment. And why do I do this? Because I'm an airline pilot and my pay went down significantly during COVID and I panicked. So this is what I set up now. So this is what I advise people. You have a chunk of change off of another cell, whatever it might be. We get one account, 3 to 6 months of that mortgage payment. We're going to use $5,000 per month. So $15,000 to $30,000 in that account you're going to have. That account pays for your house. Auto pay. Always auto pay. Never, ever do direct payments to your mortgage. Why? If you forget, the implications of forgetting a house note is a lot different than forgetting to pay your credit card bill. Each state is different on the ramifications of missing a house payment. So very, very clear. Always auto pay your house payment, okay? And if we set it up with an account here, 3 to 6 months makes it very easy. So if you're, over at Delta, you're green slipping, you're rolling thunder, hey, we're having some really good months. Let's do $8,000 per month in that account. Let's pick up a trip. Because why is during the holidays, maybe a birthday, you don't fly as much. Your spouse goes back to work, whatever it might be, and maybe you only put $2,000. Well, you always have it set in here. Only $5,000 is going out. 8's going in. You plus up a 3. Let's say you have a month, you only put $2,000 in there. This is specific to your house payment. You have more money coming in. You just trickle it in there, okay? And this is going to set you up and reduce stress to where every airline has different disability programs. They have the way they pay, but sometimes they don't pay immediately. So you might be a month, 45 days without taking in income. This is the way to reduce that. Or you're taking a kid to college and we want to reduce your flight time in May so you can take them and drop them off. This is what you're going to use to make that house payment. And it's always going to be made. No jeopardy there. So that's what I set up. So we talked about simple return on investment, zero money in, equity coming to you. We talked about the 0% on the VA related to your funding fee. Very important to understand your intent to file if you haven't done it already. There is some more timelines if you're getting out of active duty going into the job sector. There are some timelines you want to make sure you don't accidentally incur a funding fee, because you can jam yourself to where you can't get out of it. Okay, we roll the funding fee in the loan. Here's what the return on investment still looks like. And if you have a funding fee, if you go 0 to 5% down, you still have a funding fee that's going to get rolled in. If you don't have an exemption on your funding fee, it's always going to get rolled into your loan. So we talked about the funding fee. We talked about your pay. Rule of thumb, 25% of year 2 pay if you're starting in the industry, if you're new. If you're not, then we use 25%. Very simple, easy number to do. Zoom for our Air Force guys, and the hats for our Atlanta-based guys. VA, residual income, is what will impact you. Debt to income ratio is important, but residual income will impact you. That's your limiting factor when you're buying a house. We've seen these debt to income ratios up in the 60s and 70s. But you know what? Residual income cleared, we can clear for the house. And then we talked about savings for pilots. Pilot's best friend is your savings account. We talked specifically about how 3 to 6 months in a separate account that has a direct auto pay to pay your home note. You always want auto pay. This is what I recommend. This is Steve Tunn's opinion, but I have found that this is a good rule of thumb to use. So Hope you guys found all that helpful. And if you have any questions, let me know.